Education meeting of January 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. In the boardroom of Oak Park River Forest High School, and ask for a roll call, please.
Ms. Spivey? Here. Dr. Laura Raj? Mr. Arkin?
Here.
Mr. Henry?
Here.
Mr. Martiri? Ms. Harris? Mr. Kowski?
Here. I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district, or legal counsel for the district and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. Collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives for deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. The placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters related to individual students, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Arkin?
Yes.
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Spivey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowski?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, there he is. Good. Okay.
Somebody.
Session, and our first order of business is introductory reports and student showcase.
All right, let's showcase some students here. We have two showcases today, and I'm going to start with Nicole Epson, athletics. She's going to be talking about our girls swim program. Nicole, take it away.
All right, thank you. So I actually have two of our three qualifiers, and I believe the third is online with us today. I'm gonna actually turn it over because their story is pretty spectacular, and I'm gonna let Coach Lundgren kind of give a synopsis of what their experience was like this year. So, Coach.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for having us here tonight. We appreciate the time to recognize the accomplishments of the girls that are here. I want to introduce Becca D. She's here. She's a senior. And we got Kate Walby, sophomore. And then we got the birthday girl, Sadie Murphy, sophomore. Happy birthday, Sadie. So just if I could briefly describe, we're here to acknowledge their state qualifying accomplishments. And I think if you know a little bit about swimming, the way it works, there's a qualifying time for the state meet, or if you win your section, you can qualify. And the state of Illinois is arguably one of the fastest qualifying times in the state. So to make those times is a huge accomplishment in its own right. I'm going to start with Sadie, who came in. She's a returning all-stater. She accomplished that as a freshman last year, just a remarkable season last year, and came back this year in two new events, the 200 IM, which she holds our school record in, and the 100 backstroke. And she was the first seed at the sectional and won both of her events, advancing to the state meet and placing the top 10 in both of those events. So fantastic run for her. And then Becca, we put her in the 50 freestyle and the 100 backstroke. And she, I believe, was the 8th seed going in, which means the top 6 girls swim last, and they're usually vying for the win or the qualifying time. Becca was in the next to last heat and actually posted a time that ended up being 3/100ths faster than anybody that had gone that day. So she earned the berth to the state meet by winning her next to last heat and the whole event in dramatic fashion. She kind of had that look on her face, like, and I just do. Okay, her teammates had to remind her of the process, like, you made it. So that was fun. And then late in the meet, Kate Walby, 100 breaststroke, I believe was the third seeded person, and probably 3 or 4 seconds out of the top seed position. She was seated with a 112. I think there were some girls that were in the 08s, 09s departments. Like Kate said, that's not good enough. I'm going to throw down a 108.1, drop 4 seconds on my personal best time, and I'm going to punch my ticket to state as well. Wow. So these 3 girls, each unique, but all the same story, state qualifiers, and it was a real treat to be able to walk the halls with them. Ms. Epson has made that a tradition here, so we really enjoyed being recognized and by the school and the accomplishments that they had. And again, tonight, thank you very much for taking the time to allow us to come and share our story. Thank you.
Another tradition that we have started in cooperation with our booster club is to award our state qualifiers with a bag to recognize their accomplishments, and 2 of our 3 will be able to take this. We'll get another one in the years to come. But congratulations on behalf of the booster club as well.
The toilet paper that they use to throw all over the neighborhood.
Sorry about that.
Wow, that's a good sign. I see toilet paper, I know somebody's doing something right.
Oh, it was twice, once for sectional, one for state. Just hope for no rain.
Yeah.
No rain.
Okay, and our next student recognition is based off of, or it's similar to something we had talked about at a previous board meeting. As we know, last month, we talked about the fact that we had two students from PRF who were fortunate enough to attend COP27 this past school year. And Manolo Avalos is here today, one of those two students, to just share his story personally about what he was able to accomplish, why he was interested in it, and what he hopes bravely for our future. So Manolo, why don't you come on up if you could? I know we have a slide deck that we're going to put up here.
Thanks.
Of course, and the floor is yours.
Thanks. Well, Tori Evans, who is out hopefully getting us a win for water polo in OPRA. She's playing her first season tonight, so we wish the team well. But now we'll get into my presentation. So my name is Manolo Avalos. I'm a junior here. Oh,
Thanks,
sorry.
All good.
I also happen to serve on the sustainability and facilities here with these wonderful board members and the superintendent. So I went to Egypt the first week of November last year for COP27 as a student observer, and I was very thankful to 7 Generations Ahead, who provides the funding for most, if not all, the students who go every single year. And 4 other students who were from Evanston, CPS, and of course, OPRA. COP stands for Conference of Parties. Don't ask me who came up with that name. All I know is we've had 27 of these and we still can't figure out this climate change thing. And every year, representatives from each country come together. Next year it's in Dubai, so it's in some pretty amazing places. And they try to come out with a policy and argue all 2 weeks about how to move forward for the good of the world. There were many observations I had while attending the conference. It was very hectic but fun, and you always got the sense when you woke up, who will I meet today? John Kerry, who's the president's advisor on climate, which we did, and I'd be happy to share that video because we interviewed him actually. So I also noticed that leaders promise these big goals like 2050 and 2030, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. But the reality is they'll be out of office, so there'll be little to no way to hold them accountable. So we need short-term goals. And we need those need to be like 2 years, 4 years. My main takeaway was that climate does not wait for politics, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, we need to be taking action. Another thing I noticed is that people really do care. I interviewed Catherine Hayhoe, a climate scientist and communicator and professor. Fun fact, she grew up in Canada, lives in Texas. She recently came out with a book. And she says we need to connect our heart to our hands, which I couldn't agree with more. In other words, everyone cares, but they don't always know what, or might be scared to come out with like a huge sustainability committee or come out with this huge sustainability policy. And you guys are a great example of this. I don't know if you guys were scared when you asked for members to come out and be on the committees, but I'd imagine you probably were like, what our agenda is gonna look like and everything. And you might have been scared, like creating the committee or telling us that we had to postpone geothermal until next summer. Here are just a few things that I would like to pop into your heads or noggins. Are you interviewing people to replace the wonderful Ron Anderson, who I already miss at our sustainability and facilities committee meetings, but he was the director of, or executive director of operations, I believe. So that was just something that popped into my head. Geothermal and educating people about our plan, because I feel like that's really important. We've crafted it very well. And also I think it might be beneficial to put it into the public and on the website so people can know what we are about. So I'd like to thank you for your time tonight. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Comment that I had the privilege of when the students were in at COP27 at the end of, or at some point, there was a report out that all of the students made over Zoom from Egypt, and it was powerful, and you could see the energy and the future of our world sitting there talking to us, telling us what they saw and what they needed to do. So it was very very inspiring.
I just want to say, I thought it was an excellent point about the timeline and holding politicians accountable. I think people don't always think in those terms, so having shorter timelines makes a lot of sense. Thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do want to say, Manolo, you are the leader of our school as far as this is concerned, sustainability.
You are.
And
Well, you just don't get paid.
that's right. But thank you for your passion and your intensity and focus around this and your relentless commitment to it. You are everywhere around this topic, from emails to attending meetings to around community events. Just hats off to you.
Student council.
Thanks, everybody.
It's good to see you all again. Last time I saw you was before break. I don't have a whole lot to report, but I do have some stuff. Second semester has been off to a pretty good start. Yesterday or the day before, we got our new IDs, which faculty and students, I think, we're excited about to varying degrees. And last week for student council, we had our freshman orientation night, or the time where all the freshmen come into the school. They get to see all the new clubs and activities. And we had a booth there. And we met with a lot of students or new students or incoming students and also parents. And hopefully we convince some of these eighth graders to be the new generation of student council and continue all that we're doing. And then yesterday was our first meeting since winter break. We didn't have to the past 2 weeks, but we're planning another movie night. Last year we had our first movie night, and it was a pretty big success. We had food trucks, and we had a movie in the field house. This year we're hoping to have that movie night outside, weather permitting, with all the same activities and hopefully food this time too. And we really like this activity or the movie night because we saw that it brought out a lot of students who traditionally don't go to some of the other school functions like homecoming or football games. And it was nice to be able to engage a different set of the student body and a lot more students that way. And this year we're hoping to get even more students coming and even more interested. And that's all really for me, except we also are planning advisory competitions, but we haven't really talked about that, but that will happen in the next coming weeks. But that's all for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. All right, I have a few, superintendent announcements here that I'd like to share. First, huge congratulations to senior Nadia Dillon, who was named a semifinalist in Regeron Science Talent Search, the nation's oldest and most prestigious STEM competition for high school seniors. This marks the first time in the competition's 80-year history that an OPRFHS student has earned this recognition. Nadia's research project focused on finding a new way to combat antibiotic-resistant bacteria that often form on surgical devices, which could help prevent infections after these devices are used in surgery, is what got her the award. So congratulations, Nadia, for your excellent work. The OPRFHS stage crew earned first place honors at the 47th Annual Illinois High School Theater Festival Tech Olympics held at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Congrats to the crew and to advisors Chris Schultens and Kyle Hurst. Peyton Warnett placed second at the Illinois Regional Boys Bowling Competition, making him the first bowler in OPRFHS history to advance to the state finals being held this weekend. Good luck, Peyton, striking down. Congratulations to freshman Julia Sylvester, who submitted multiple entries to the Sesquicentennial Student Logo Contest and won not just first place, but second place as well. Julia's first place design will be used throughout the 23-24 school year as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of OPRF's founding. Also, congratulations to board member Mary Ann Mohanraj, whose cookbook, Vegan Serendib Recipes from Sri Lanka, has been named by the Food Network as one of its 10 best new vegan cookbooks from 2022. The Food Network noted that it reads like a vegan love letter to her native Sri Lanka. Isn't that lovely? So congratulations. OPRF High School has been also selected to participate in an AP pilot course for African American Studies next school year. This course will examine the breadth of African American experiences through direct encounters with rich and various sources drawing from the fields of literature, the arts and humanities, political science, geography, science, and more. Currently, there are approximately 60 schools this school year participating in the first year pilot, and the second year pilot begins next year and will expand the course to hundreds of schools nationwide. We're proud to be a part. I also, before I transition away from my comments, want to take a moment to speak to a little bit about Project 2 and the extent to which the Imagine process was focused on student needs and equitable outcomes, and also our ongoing implementation of our racial equity analysis tool. First, in February, I will be bringing to the board, along with my team, a discussion of the scope of Project 2, which will provide some more information than I'm providing here and much greater detail. But before that happens, I want to acknowledge a few things. First, I want to be clear that we welcome critical dialogue about how Project 2 will serve all of our students and our community's needs. We've been in conversation with members of our community who want to see a more robust analysis of Project 2 from a racial equity perspective, and we welcome that conversation. Projects of this magnitude require healthy debate. And real debate that has capacity to be honestly productive, requires that people sit down together and have a conversation. And that's exactly what the original Imagine team did. We're sorry that more of that type of conversation hasn't happened recently with community members who reached out. And contrary to what was printed last week, members of our team had to cancel a meeting with community members who wanted to discuss this process. And so I wanted to set that record straight. We're thankful now that we've had a chance to sit down and discuss our process and the extent to which this type of investment will help us realize our equity goals for Black and Brown students, our gender nonconforming students, students with disabilities, and other often marginalized groups. And those conversations are and will be ongoing. For now, however, I want to take just a moment to remind the board and the community how deliberately steeped in equity the Imagine process was. The application process, the diversity of the membership, as well as the three guiding principles of the original Imagine team, which were focused on equity, needs-driven, and student-centered, all were aimed at ensuring that any developed plans had the needs of our students front and center. The Imagine team was deliberate in gathering data that it could disaggregate by race. In a student survey, 669 students responded to the questions about what spaces do not work well for them. For the 245 respondents of color, the top 3 spaces were in order: bathrooms, locker rooms, and the pool. For the 92 Black student respondents, the top 4 spaces in order were bathrooms, locker rooms, cafeteria, and the pool. The team also conducted 28 listening sessions with student groups, classes, a third of which were by design, clubs whose members tend to experience marginalization, such as Aspira, Black Leaders Youth, and students advocating for equity. This type of analysis should be ongoing, of course, and when we use our own racial equity analysis tool early this past fall to evaluate Project 2, we are very much indebted to the work from Imagine that predated our racial equity analysis tool. Just as when the board adopted our revised freshman curriculum a year ago, we were greatly indebted to the curriculum evaluation process that also predated that tool. We look forward to continuing conversations throughout the semester and beyond, and again, more information will be coming to the board in February. So thank you, and that concludes the superintendent announcements.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
2 for
Lisa,
2, then 100.
for your request.
2 for 2.
2 for 2.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next segment is employee recognition. And today we are recognizing 3 individuals. I'm just gonna check for whether we're live or over Zoom.
Looks like Michael's on Zoom.
Yeah, and Jonathan is here in person.
Okay.
He's here.
Great.
Magda could not make it to.
Okay. So today we're happy to continue our employee recognition program for the 2022-23 school year. This program is being sponsored by Oak Park Bank, a Wintrust community bank, and new this year. The bank's motto is to work hard to be an asset to the people and communities they serve. They salute the faculty and staff of D200 and are proud to sponsor this district's employee recognition program. Melissa Cleveland, Vice President, is here to present gifts to the January winners of our program. All right. Okay. So our first honoree, we would like to congratulate Michael Dormy.
Dormy, yeah,
Yes, it goes back to
you got it.
a long time ago. I think it was Dudes Making a Difference. Right? Who was selected as a teacher of the month. Here's what people who submitted the nominations had to say about Michael. He's such a joyful and thoughtful teacher. I go into his class and feel safe and eager to learn, and I just love his class. He's just awesome and a great teacher. Mr. Dormy truly represents everything we strive to be as Huskies. His positivity and optimism are contagious. And if Mr. Dormy is having a bad day, we'd never know it. He brings his best self to his students and coworkers every single day, and it always makes my day better when I am lucky enough to interact with him. I don't know how he does it, but he never fails to bring joy and kindness to everyone around him. One great way we get to see this is as his students enter. This is as his students enter his room each day. Mr. Dormy gives everyone a celebratory fist bump every single day. I want to see his knuckles. And students enter his room eager, happy, and ready to work. He holds high expectations for his students, and it's not uncommon for them to enter class immediately jabbering about assignments, recapping their reading, or updating him on their progress. We are lucky to have Mr. Dormy as part of our institution, and I know OPRF and the world are more joyful places because of him. So congratulations to Mr. Michael Dormy. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you very much, and it's been an honor to serve the young people of Oak Park and River Forest for 24 years. Wish I had another 24 in me, but I do not.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Cleveland?
Yes, Mr. Dormy, we just want to say from Oak Park Bank and also myself, a Husky mom, thank you. We salute you and celebrate you and appreciate your hard work and dedication. Because I know every day is not necessarily joyful, but you pull it out, drop it right, and bring that joy to the kids, and truly, truly appreciate you. So thank you.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Okay. Our second honoree, I would like to extend congratulations to our January Employee of the Month, Jonathan Weiser. Here's what people who submitted his nomination have to say about him. John goes above and beyond to help at the stadium throughout the year, including summer, and never complains while demonstrating his exemplary commitment as well as his effectiveness and professionalism. John is the example of warmth and community as he is forever welcoming our volunteer crew. He is always looking to help and support us, but he does it in such a caring way that we feel like family. John does a fantastic job as our lead ground specialist. He always goes above and beyond, literally working through rain, sleet, or snow. He keeps our sidewalks salted and free of snow in the winter. He keeps our grounds looking great and does a fantastic job of preparing our fields for our student athletes. John most definitely emulates those things that are best here at OPRF. John is incredibly helpful with our booster spaces. He always has a smile. He embodies school pride. It is evident in his meticulous attention to detail in our facilities. John is such an amazing person in always being supportive and helping out in every way. The boosters are always so grateful for his above and beyond work. We could not be able to do the things we do in the stadium and around the school without his help. Congratulations again, Jonathan. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I just want to say that I'm very appreciative of this award, and the honor means a lot to me.
That's fine.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you, and
I think.
we're gonna take pictures.
Yeah. Thank you on behalf of the board.
Go down.
Right.
You gotta go in the middle here.
You get the. Congratulations. Okay. And our last honoree, I would like to extend congratulations to our volunteer of the month, Magda Piper. Here's what people who submitted the nomination had to say about Magda. Along with holding the co-chair position of merchandise for the Husky Booster Club, this fall Magda took on the role of treasurer for the Husky Booster Club. With no new volunteers willing to take the demanding position, no board member with fewer responsibilities willing to step up to the plate, and a treasurer legally and ethically essential to make the booster function, Magda agreed to this challenging role. Like everything she does, her enthusiasm and desire for action has proved incredible results. She's taken this position. Since taking this position, Magda has moved the boosters closer to the modern age and moving accounts to a bank that can provide better services, modernizing financial policies, creating documentation both monthly and annually, making appropriations easier to manage. She has corrected errors that may have been made, dealt with the incredibly slow and frustrating process of closing accounts that are no longer used and are no longer in the name of a booster member. Examples include moving the QuickBooks account to our new bookkeeper, which took a minimum of 37 hours. All the while, Magda has simultaneously managed merchandise sales events, averaging 3 a week in the month of December. We believe that without Magda, the Booster Club would not have been able to make appropriations in 2022, 2023. We know that without her, the Booster Club would have had a high degree of dissolution without a treasurer. Congratulations again, Magda. Is there anything you'd like to say? I don't think that's needed. Okay, so we will.
Busy running the booster.
I know. Stuff, so I would second that, Rob. All right, congratulations, and that concludes our employee and volunteer recognition. So thank you. Okay. We now move to public comments. Lisa?
We have one in person and we have one to be given to the minutes.
Okay,
Miss Allison Welch.
Evening. My name is Allison Welch. I'm an Oak Park resident. I have an OPRF sophomore and a fifth grader. So I'm speaking to you tonight to implore you to move forward with the decades overdue capital investment known as Project 2 and make a responsible financing decision that will also prevent further delays. So through our collective voices, we democratically elected you, the District 200 School Board, to make this very kind of mission critical decision that will so clearly benefit all students as well as the community at large. I believe sending Project 2 to a referendum is therefore unnecessary, as the community has been heard and thoroughly engaged on this topic. And in fact, to make sure all stakeholders were heard, beginning in 2016, there have been years of public comment and input that have been gathered to guide the scope and the sequencing of the imagined projects. In some ways, Superintendent Johnson stole my line, because I do feel that if there's any equity concern to be expressed here, it is that the century-old facility, as it now stands, perpetuates inequities for many students daily. So allowing the building to remain inaccessible for students with mobility challenges, such as no elevator, makeshift ramps, to the lacking of respectful spaces for gender nonconforming students, sitting in a state of limbo with some unpleasant and potentially inadequate environmental and structural issues that have been mentioned throughout the process, and really to allow the building to just be band-aided, I feel is in fact inequitable and irresponsible on all of our parts. As we also heard from the Raymond James Financial Advisor, I believe at the Finance Committee meeting, delays could cost millions of dollars a year on top of the current estimate that you all are facing. Delay that would be caused by a referendum would make 0 sense from a financial perspective. Quality schools, as we know, bring people into this wonderful community. If we don't make a capital investment in D200 as soon as possible, we will continue to negatively affect this. These decisions will have a direct impact on Oak Park and River Forest residents of all ages. We elected you, the D200 board, to be decisive and bold after the community's thorough and thoughtful and collaborative examination of all the facility improvements that we need to make that are critical to ensuring the high school's success. We've had years of debate, we've had community input, the needs are clear and unquestioned, the time is of the essence. So I am here to say it's time to move forward and approve financing for Project 2 that will empower the board and the administration to act without delay on this community approved, democratically conceived, equity focused, important modernization of our facilities.
thank you.
That concludes my public comments.
Okay. Next, is the consent agenda. Are there any consent items that board members would like to have pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, I move to approve the consent items as follows. Approval of the open and closed minutes of December 15, 2022 and January 12, 2023, and declaration the audio tapes of the closed session minutes of May 2021 be destroyed. Approval of the personnel recommendations, including new hires, transfers, retirements, resignations, and leaves of absence. Approval of the following policies for second read and action. Policy 2:105, ethics and gift ban. Policy 2:210, organizational board of education meeting. Policy 2:265, Title IX Sexual Harassment Grievance Procedure. Policy 4:10, Fiscal and Business Management. Policy 4:140, Waiver of Student Fees. Policy 5:20, Workplace Harassment Prohibited. Policy 5:220, Substitute Teachers. Policy 5:320, Evaluations. Policy 5:330, Sick Days, Vacation, Holidays and Leaves. Policy 6:340, Student Testing and Assessment Program. Policy 6:60, Curriculum Content. Policy 7:180, Prevention of and Response to Bullying, Intimidation, and Harassment. Policy 7:285,
Anaphylaxis.
Thank you. Prevention. That's beyond my.
We're against it.
Response and management policy. Policy 7:290, Suicide and Depression Awareness and Prevention. Approval of January 2023 check disbursements and financial resolutions as presented. Approval of the November 2022 financial reports as presented. Approval of the November 2022 Treasurer's Report is presented. To accept with gratitude the monetary donation for Mr. Thomas Haskins Jacobs, whose children attended OPRF and are graduates of the class of 94, 2000 and 2021. Approval of the resolution to transfer $5 million from the Operations and Maintenance Fund of the Capital Projects Fund and to transfer $7.5 million from the Educational Fund of the Capital Projects Fund as presented. Approval of the Property Tax Appeal Board resolution as presented. Approval of the NIIPC award bidders for USDA commodity foods for the 2023-2024 school year as presented, and approval of the NIIPC awarded bidders for the selected commercial foods for the 2023 and 2024 school year as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yep.
Ms. Spivey,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj. Yes. And Mr. Costa.
Yes. So it's approved as 760. Our next section are action items. And our first action item is to certify the class of 2023 mid-year graduates. Any discussion?
Congratulations.
Yes. And we have to roll call,
Yes, sir.
please.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Ms. Spivey,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj.
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Costa.
Yes. Next, the approval to reject the geothermal project bid of $6,382,064.
So a yes vote is returning down the bill.
Correct. A yes is to reject. Do I have a
Second.
any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Ms. Spivey,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj. Yes. Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Costa.
Yes, motion passes. Meaning it's.
Can I
Yes.
I'm not changing the motion or anything like that, but I did need to make one comment, which is this question about whether it would cost more if we wait, seems likely to be offset by developments. I guess I just wanted to highlight that for the community, that as we're looking into further things, it's, there's a concern about, well, won't it cost more if we wait longer to make these decisions? But because the tech is changing so quickly, and improvements are coming so quickly, it's not as much of a risk as it would be with more established technologies. So I just thought that was an important piece of this, and I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next action item is approval of the filming of the March 8th, 2023 in-school field trip with Set the Expectations within the parameters described in the memo menu. Sorry. I must be. Do I have a second?
Second.
And discussion.
So I'm gonna be voting no on this, as I stated in committee of the whole, not because I don't believe in this work. I think it's so important, in fact, that any filming would have a detrimental effect on students who might otherwise feel more comfortable participating. So that is my.
I share Sarah's concerns. I will be a no.
As well. So. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Henry,
No.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Martieri,
No.
Ms. Spivey,
No.
Dr. Maharaj,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski,
No.
4-2 no.
So the motion passes. Okay. And our last action item is approval of the Community Finance Committee's recommendation to not recapture property tax refunds. Okay, any discussion? I think we just to clarify what this is for those who need to understand. Cindy, could you just in one brief sentence?
It's an $800,000 plus tax relief.
Bingo. Could you say it again? It's a $800,000 plus tax relief is really what it is. We're just not gonna recapture the property tax refunds.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Martieri,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Spivey,
Yes.
Dr. Maharaj,
Yes.
Mr. Kowski.
Yes. And that completes our action items. There are any update on committees and I'd just like to hear if anyone has anything to report. So we'll just go anything on the student advisory.
We are meeting January 31st. We'll meet next Tuesday.
I go.
Yeah, we met last weekend, is that right? It's a blur. Ralph and I both attended. One of the things that I think is sort of salient is they will be hosting a forum for candidates, but it's going to be virtual this year. They will also not be holding a panel, but they will have a couple of elected officials there to sort of explain the process, the different functions of the various bodies. What am I missing, Ralph?
No, that's all good.
That's it?
But they're gonna focus on some of the challenges you face if
Yeah.
you're elected. right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's all about that. Maybe receiving some negative emails and things like that.
Okay.
Not that that's ever happened. Theoretically.
Okay. CFC. Do you want to hear?
The charge is there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so
I think that just the committee met and they are, they were presented and had some preliminary options or permutations to use as a starting point for them. They are planning on meeting, doing some roll up their sleeves work in the end of January, beginning of February, and have called their next meeting on February the 28th to kind of come back to the committee with what their findings are from their roll up their sleeve work. So. Any update on Apple
And nothing to report.
facilities? Need them.
No, we haven't.
We need
You
them.
have Matt, right?
Okay.
We did meet.
We did meet,
I was invited.
it wasn't person.
It wasn't there.
I'll make sure you. Okay, thanks.
No real updates. Anything that was discussed in that space was publicly discussed, as part of our ongoing project too.
All right, CCB,
Uh,
I don't think that a quorum.
We didn't have a quorum
They
at the
didn't.
last meeting, so we didn't meet.
okay.
Community council.
Yeah, I kind of went on to work. Community council, please. Yeah. Sorry.
I actually took notes for this one, so, no major news from D90 and D97. I believe I caught this, the boosters have raised $20,000 that the clubs will be available for clubs to apply to for their activities, so congrats boosters. Any of you out there, well done. We had a presentation from Ginger Bencola on the wellness workshops that we started running this year, and so I thought I would just quickly run through a couple of the points she made. Our students are seeing, unsurprisingly, elevated levels of mental health stress now compared to pre-pandemic. Our students are also seeing elevated levels, 43% versus 35% in sophomores, for example, compared to other suburban Cook County schools. Which a lot of us found concerning and kind of highlights the need for things like wellness workshops. There was a long discussion of the use of SEL, social emotional learning, and building skills that improve achievement and reduce stress. I was sort of interested to learn that Illinois is one of the 3 states that does this, not just in preschool, but like implements SEL through all the grade levels. And I personally think it's great. They did a workshop in October and another one in December so far. Overall, students found the first workshop helpful, although some said they'd rather have had a nap or candy. But making their school days better, but teachers overwhelmingly thought they were helpful. The December workshop on managing stress, the majority of students felt they were positively impacted, students and teachers. Those workshops are going to be monthly going forward, starting in January. I'd also like to highlight for new parents the Husky Wellness newsletter that comes out every month. Parents can review that to get the bullet points of what was covered, and it's a great opportunity to reinforce some of these ideas and practices with your students, and you may find them helpful yourself. Wednesday, April 19th at 6:30 will be Parent University, which I think will have a host of sessions that we can sign up for. There was, and the last thing is there was a request for more tours so that people can get a better understanding of the facilities needs. And next month, the new equity director, Dr. Applewhite, will be presenting.
Thank you. Boosters, we actually have a scheduling conflict that is, we've got to work out to get board participation in, so. Applause.
Nothing to report.
And Alumni Association.
Yes, they look.
Oh. Yeah, I skipped.
So the Alumni Association met on January 9th. Not a whole lot to report. We had our taxes completed. We'll continue with our annual appeal, although this summer it's kind of not much to report because this summer there are not this summer enrichment grant programs that normally the school sponsored trips are still not going off this year. So I mean, we are still raising funds, but those will probably be applied to next year. You know, one of the things that we did talk about was a request from the OPRF History Museum for sponsorship of sesquicentennial exhibit, which will be next year. We will be celebrating the sesquicentennial year of the high school, and so we want to partner with the museum, because the museum now has not all, but a great amount of our artifacts, and to have some kind of a rotating exhibit throughout the year, and certainly bring our alumni over and showcase it to them.
I just want to add one little bit, may help actually in the future discussion with the group, Fred, and just to clarify for folks too. We are not doing, spot on, we aren't doing any international trips this coming summer. However, domestic trips could in fact still occur. I don't have a flight, so I can't tell you exactly what they may be or what the timeline is.
We
But
have had people come to us.
okay,
Okay, Apple,
So I think so that I do not have.
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but I may
Yeah.
have missed a meeting, so that's, I would make some clarity.
Okay, and the last one, not listed, but is the sustainability committee, so.
you want to report out? You want me to report out?
I'll report out. Met this week. I think it was this week.
Yeah, it was this week.
And really are going through the plan. The policy was developed, plan is now being assembled and filled out. My assessment of it is there were a number of areas, one being putting together a scorecard, one is working on a twin model of the building, and the third is a communication tool that all are going to be kind of handed to our students to really play a lead role and have them pull that together. So I was thrilled to see our students, the environmental club, wanting to step up and really take leadership role in a bunch of these things that will be great experiences for them and very beneficial for the district. So, and Manolo was right there in front and center. So he was there in front and center and was ready, so it's good stuff. Okay. So any future agenda items?
So I'd like to take a minute and just discuss this, the letter that went out today about the later start time and ask. So I was a little startled, just because I thought this was coming back to the board for discussion, and so that was my impression. So the letter made it sound like this was now decided, that we have abandoned the idea completely. My impression from the letter was that sort of based on surveying, the surveys you ran, conversations in the community, and it sounded like you're saying basically for both of these options, there were obstacles and there was not sort of community support for the later start time given these concerns. And I just feel like this is a really under-discussed, underdeveloped issue. I'd like to see an equity analysis of it. I think that there's so much research that shows the later start times in high school give better educational outcomes. I'd be very interested in seeing how that affects marginalized communities. I'd like to have, I'm seeing in public discussion of it just online today, people saying, oh, well, why would we want a later start time? So I feel like the community hasn't had the arguments made to them. And so maybe surveying people was premature, maybe there needed to be a broader community conversation. So I'm not sure what the right process is going forward, but I would hate to see it be okay, well, we made a decision and now we're not gonna look at it again for 10 years, so that's my concern. So I don't know if that goes on an agenda sometime soon or what exactly.
Okay. Any other questions? Fred?
Yes.
Sesquicentennial or?
I got the word.
Right?
Okay.
You said it twice and I. So.
Now, I would like to have a comprehensive conversation. All right, about usage of our facilities. And what prompted this was that the first week of winter break, the school was closed. All right, it was closed to a point where even kids on sports teams couldn't enter the building. And I just don't believe, well, I believe it this way. I get the distinct impression that the building gets closed at the convenience of adults at the expense of our students. We've just invested $40 million in our commons, our resource center, and other aspects of the building. We are about to debate our project 2 and determine funding for it. This is the greatest asset in our community. This is why people move here, is for this school. And I think the school should be open. We should be running programs. During the course of winter break, there ought to be, our maker spaces ought to be open, our resource center ought to be open, ought to be a place where our students can come and fill their days. All right, along with athletic facilities as well, intramural basketball, volleyball, swimming, whatever. But to keep to shut it down, and it is shut down for minimum the last 20 years over winter break, based on issues with building of grounds and maintenance. I think those things do not take priority over our students. And I would like to have this a very earnest discussion about this. And especially as we embark on project 2, and we've completed project 1. All right. I just don't understand why kids couldn't come into the school and utilize the worker space. And utilize the collaborative areas that we have. And I think that was part of the reason that we created them.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Motion to adjourn. Any other new business?
I'm gonna come up with 3 more things, Ralph.
Before Mary Ann can think. Second. All in support?
All right.
All opposed? The ayes have it.